1 minute left to top off the evening with a treat from our snack bar.
Did you see the memo about this?
Welcome back to Crystal Lake for a Friday the 13th offer that is out of this world. For the first time, a 1/6 scale highly detailed sculpture by Mauro Misherevich is available now for pre-order from C4 Studios. Receive either the fully painted Jason from Friday the 13th Part 7 The New Blood for $450 plus shipping, or if you prefer to paint it yourself, a $350 plus shipping version is also available. C4 Studios does offer payment plans to make it easier for you hardcore fans. You may contact Mauro through his C4 Studios Facebook or Instagram direct messages to place your order. Don't miss out on this limited run. Links in the description below. Thank you for your support. Boop.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
And now for something completely different.
Got to learn how to keep your dream alive. Take a look at my face. I am
Are you not entertained?
I love it, I love it.
Of course he loves it. He's the kind of guy who plants poison ivy.
Coming up next, a spotlight review starring Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2. Enjoying this time of year with spooks and goblins lurking about, with today being a special day in all to boot, I thought we would take a drive down to New Jersey and visit Camp Packanack. You know, because we're not allowed to venture into Camp Blood.
Oh, come on, you chicken shit.
I'm talking about Friday the 13th, Part 2. From 1981. There are oodles of info out there about this movie and all its facets, including the magnificent Blu-ray box set. So I just wanted to focus a spotlight on Amy Steele.
Okay, you guys, well, I got one. Red, huh? What's green and red and those 100 miles an hour?
One of the few Friday gals to walk away in the end.
Paul? Where's Paul?
Perhaps with not all her faculties intact. Steele was asked to come back for Part 3. Given poor advice, she turned down that second chance under Jason's machete, regretting it years later, she has stated, which is a darn shame.
Bullshit, Paul.
Since picking up the box set, I find myself flipping through the Crystal Lake photo album and re-watching these again and again.
What do you want to play for?
Position.
Or do some spot watches like this one, which by all accounts has fans scratching their heads and wondering how Jason survived out there before Mom's block was knocked off without her even knowing. With exposition from Ginny in the latter part of the second act, explaining her idea of Jason.
And he must be out there right now crying for a return. For resurrection.
Makes perfect sense to me. You see, I always view the Friday movies as stories told around a campfire.
And if you listen to the old timers in town, they'll tell you he's still out there. Some sort of demented creature. Surviving in the wilderness. Full grown by now.
All the women in Part 2 are strong-willed in their own ways, and it never comes across mean or just written poorly.
I'd let you hang, you pervert.
Come on, Tara. Give me a break.
Their interactions with the other half are much more natural and playful.
Jeff, don't wear yourself out. You want to wrestle? Come with me.
Ginny is no different, busting Paul's balls where she can.
It's more fun using that child psychology on you. You're such a sucker, Lord.
To then turning sweet and caring.
I won't tell.
We see her chainsawing Firewood only later on to use the same weapon against Sackhead. Steele also still has one, if not the most memorable chase sequence in a Friday flick. The under the bed sequence has a lead-in that just hits all those nail-biting beats. With this scene probably being my favorite moment in the film. I mean, that shot alone scares the piss out of me. Once cornered and slipping on Mom's blood-encrusted musty sweater, she transforms with desperation to end this once and for all.
Jason, Mother is talking to you!
Paul popping back to lend a hand in the end, with the mystery to this day whether he lived or died. Ginny's final moments on screen show us that her barstool tale may have just hit a little too close to home. I really would have loved to have seen her appear in 3.
Check. Mate.
And not just as kill fodder at the beginning like poor Alice. At least we can enjoy this summer fling over and over again.
With Brad, it sits on a piano.
And still not miss a beat. Until next time. I also wanted to give a shout out to our YouTube members. Thank you for the support. And hail Cthulhu. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Happy Friday the 13th. Good to see everybody here. And I hope you enjoyed that Friday the 13th little spotlight on Amy Steele. So we have a great show coming up for you tonight. I got Jason Lenox coming back. We're going to talk about his campaign and see how it's making out with Lords of the Cosmos issue 5. We're also going to discuss some crowdfunding, Kickstarter type of stuff. So if you're into that, stay tuned. But up until then, I'll take your chats, and until Jason shows up, I'll kill some time with some articles I found today, which would be kind of fun to listen to go through. Also, tell me about your Friday the 13th, and what is your favorite? Which one is your favorite? Because I'd be curious to hear. So let's see. We've got to start off with Films and Fermentation Podcast, Papa C. Hey guys, thank you so much. And I was appeared on their show last night, and my understanding is they'll drop that interview with me on Tuesday. So I'm excited to see that, and hope you all are too. We'll have it on the channel as well to share. Let's see. Oh, Mick the man's in. Hey Mick, good to see you the other night. I'm super happy that you came in. Wasn't the one guy where just leaves to go to the bar and then is never seen again? Wasn't that there was a one guy that just leaves? Yeah. Well, you know what I read actually when I was researching this is that, was it Scott? I think it was Scott, the guy that was hanging upside down. They had shot his scene right before the bar scene with Jenny, right? So then I guess he had convinced Miner to say, "Hey, can I just wear a raincoat and just do a walkthrough in the scene?" So I have to now check out the scene again because I read that after the fact, but I do remember a yellow raincoat. So I thought that was kind of a cool little tidbit. Halden Listrom says, I'm watching this one for the first time tonight. Movie Club wanted something topical. Nice. Good call. Good call. Mick the man. How are there never any Miss Voorhees cosplayers? Jeez, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen one. I don't think I have. You would think, maybe there's got to be like a Deadpool Mrs. Voorhees. You got to have that sweater, though. That sweater is key. Hey, Ed. Thank you for joining us. Greetings. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So what I thought would be kind of fun is that I have this little article here, which I found today when I was looking for something. And I'm sure if some of you folks out there have the Blu-ray, it's mentioned on the box set in one of the behind the scenes things. But since this popped up today, that'll be kind of a fun little go through. And since we're talking about Friday the 13th Part 2, kind of makes sense since Sackhead is involved. So David Lynch movie forced Friday the 13th to completely change Jason Voorhees' look. Now, I wonder if any of you folks know this out of here. It's been a long 15 years since we've seen Jason Voorhees on the big screen in Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, it's kind of really sad to say, isn't it? While there is hope in the Peacock's Crystal Lake series, what do you guys think about that, by the way? It's Friday the 13th, Part 13 that fans are really waiting for. Even though it's been a decade and a half, Jason is still a pop culture icon thanks to his infamous hockey mask. As you may remember, however, Jason didn't get his mask until Part 3. Part 2, Jason was a killer for the first time. If you don't know this already, his mom was the killer in the first movie. He is wearing a burlap sack with one eye hole cut out, and it's not a bad look, but certainly not as scary as the hockey mask. It has also had the misfortune of being used after David Lynch's The Elephant Man. If any of you have seen that one, that's definitely a classic. Let's see. Alpha Man had come out with John Hurt's John Merrick wearing the similar face covering. Because of that, Friday the 13th crew had to go back to the drawing board and redesign their baddie. Now, that would be a great team up, you know? Elephant Man and Jason Voorhees. You know, could do a little verse there. Technically, Jason Voorhees makes his first appearance in the original Friday the 13th with the jump scare. Yes, we've already know about that with Alice in the first one. And Betsy is obviously the killer. Let's see. You go Friday the 13th 2 is now he's an adult and he kills Alice in the opening minutes. And after that, we follow around, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Jason isn't wearing the hockey mask, but the burlap sack and his misshapen features with just one eye hole cut out due to the fact that he is blind in one eye. Oh, come on. He could see. Well, it's not that it looks reminiscent of the killer from the Town that Dreaded Sundown. That was their whole idea. The filmmakers wanted it to look like that character from the Town that Dreaded Sundown. The only thing they changed was making one eye hole, and his plaid shirt was a different color, if my information is correct. But it works because the version of Jason is not portrayed as a zombie with superhuman strength, but a man who lives alone in the woods. That is why he also wears a plaid shirt and bib overalls. Yeah, right, because everybody I've ever seen in the woods always wears exactly a plaid shirt and bib overalls. We might not think much of it to see this look now, but back in 81, some fans laughed at it because another movie had just come out. 1980, David Lynch has directed The Elephant Man, a black and white film about a real-life John Merrick starring John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins. Hurt plays Merrick, a man with severe physical disabilities. On his face and body, Merrick lived in a painful life and was often made fun of. So to go outside, he was wearing a bag over his head and hide his features. Oh, yeah, here it is. So the 2013 documentary, Crystal Lake Memories, The Complete History of Friday the 13th, it was discussed why Jason's mask changed. After Friday the 13th Part 2, Peter Brack, who wrote the book version of Crystal Lake Memories, said that Elephant Man came out following the production of Friday the 13th Part 2. Like Friday the 13th, The Elephant Man was a Paramount film and popular by making $26 million at the box office and winning multiple awards. The Elephant Man was a somber, dramatic film, so when they saw Jason wearing the bag over his head, they thought the two were similar, and Jason was not scary. Some fans joked about Jason wearing a burlap sack, so they decided to create a new mask for Friday Part 3, and according to the Crystal Lake Memories, during makeup test, Martin J. Sadoff, the film's 3D supervisor, and oh, that's right. I always forget that movie's 3D. And hockey player from Buffalo pulled out the goalie mask that he used for when the crew played together during breaks. Sadoff recalls, I kiddingly said, put on the mask, and then we won't have to worry about any makeup. They did, and Steve Miner loved the look, and the rest is history. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The rest is history. Let's see what you guys... Where do we leave off here? I feel like, let's see, we'll go back to, there we go. I feel like that they're going to Heldon says, I feel like they're going to over-explain slasher films, in my experience, get less interesting and more we understand them. Oh, 100% agree. 100% agree. Ed says, A Violent Nature was obviously influenced by Jason. Yes. Though it could have been by Jadon, considering the fact that the movie was Films and Fermentation podcast says, I don't see how people could confuse Jason Voorhees with John Merrick. Feels like another instance of studios not trusting the audience's intelligence. Yes. Yeah, I mean, they're not the same. Mick the Man says, Films and Fermentation podcast, Paranoia at the time, I'm guessing. Yes. Well, and also both by the same studio, so that I guess that could be a problem. Anyways, that's a little fun for Friday the 13th. I've got Jason Lenox here waiting in the wings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play his... Where we go here? I'm going to play his Kickstarter. I'm going to play his Kickstarter trailer, and then we'll have him come on the show, and we'll start talking about Lords of the Cosmos, Issue 5.
Lords of the Cosmos, unite! The critically acclaimed comic book series by Jason Lenox, Dennis Fallon, and Jason Palmatier returns with Issue 5. inspired by 1980s favorites like Masters of the Universe, 2000 AD, and Heavy Metal Magazine. Lords of the Cosmos 5 features a variety of unique rewards, including variant covers from Koi Fall, L.C. Freitas, Caesar, and Ignacio Ragnarsson. See why Indie Comics Dispatch says Lords of the Cosmos pulls all the nostalgia strings while managing to also create something new and unique. And behold, The Geek says Lords of the Cosmos is an insane sci-fi fantasy comic that takes no prisoners. Back Lords of the Cosmos issue 5, now on Kickstarter.
All right, and let's welcome to the show Jason Lenox. Hey, Jason, how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing great, Cthulhu Jack, here on this fine Friday the 13th, and my name is Jason, so I kind of feel that it's wildly appropriate. So I appreciate you having me back on as a guest, and I feel such a connection hearing that Doug Stone voiceover after we learned a lot about Doug last week. It's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice having him on and talking to him and getting a little inside baseball as to how some of that stuff works.
Yeah. So what's happening on this fine, not quite a holiday, but it should be treated as such?
Not a whole lot. Just enjoying the day of Friday the 13th and just dropped a new review. So, and after this podcast, I'll probably pop on another Friday the 13th movie just for old time's sake.
I love hearing it, man. I love hearing it. So what's tonight's format? Because when we met earlier this week, it was a launch party for my Kickstarter, which now is fully funded, and I'll be putting out some stretch goal information this weekend. So that's exciting. So what's this evening's format?
So this evening's format is I thought we would see how you're making out on your Kickstarter, and if you had any insight onto your campaign, and we could talk some crowdfunding and just go from there. Just kind of hang for a little bit until you have to bail.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start the conversation? Ask me a question, and I will do my best to answer for all the viewers, and we can talk all about all of those things on this fine Friday the 13th.
Sounds good. Well, first, let me go ahead and see some of these chats here. Halden says, with such deliberately over-the-top characters, do you find it a struggle to keep the tone you want?
No, because the tone was always over the top and strange, so the characters fit right in with what we're doing. So, if we were trying to do a more of a hard science fiction, something like Dune, these characters wouldn't fit. It wouldn't work, right? They are the correct fits for the tone we're going for, which is science fiction barbarians, and there's always a 1980s theme to it. So we play them straight because it's a world that makes sense for them, if that makes sense. It's a good question.
I got another one here for you. Sam Diaz says, nice shirt. Nice shirt.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse, baby. What's up?
Yeah, because the other night you were wearing your Lennox shirt. So,
yes, I asked my family. I'm like, should I wear a Lords of the Cosmos shirt again? And they're like, how about you wear a different shirt? You're mix it up, Dad. Freshen it up. So I threw on Cannibal Corpse. I believe this is a 2014 tour shirt when I saw him live.
Nice. Let's see if we get another one here. Alden's back. Woo! Congrats on getting fully funded.
Thank you very much, Halden. And I don't know if you're a backer, but if you are, thank you. And if you've not backed it, I hope you do consider backing it. There is lots of good stuff in the campaign with the tiers and the add-ons. Thank you for the kind words. I like this, Jack. These are great. These are smart viewers. I like these viewers. This is good stuff.
Yeah, no, I have good fans, man. They know what they're talking about. They have good questions. Yeah. So have you found, because when was the last time you dropped Lords? When was Lords of the Cosmos out?
You know what? So I don't speak out incorrect me. Let me go into the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find out, because it's been a while now, so I kind of forget. I don't want to misspeak the year, right? So there is the campaign. Let me dig a little bit.
All right, while you're digging, do you mind if I ask you another question?
No, go ahead.
All right, what are the fans anticipating the most about Lords of the Cosmos issue 5, do you think?
Well, since this is a 5th issue, right? I think for a lot of the fans, it's about two things. One, there's a main story that always ends on "to be continued," right? So, where's that story going? Which, is the classic, what's happening next? And then the other thing is that I feel that we've built a really interesting, immersive world, and we like to showcase new and interesting parts of it. So I hope, and I would think that the readers want to see where we go next in the world of Aiden, the planet that the Lords of the Cosmos fight the disciples of Umex on, right? Because we have our ideas, but we like to bring them out and surprise and excite people. So, yeah, it's good stuff. So I hope they're excited for the story, and I hope they're excited to explore the world, because we've tried to make it fun and immersive and different and neat and fun, right?
Right.
So that's really my hope, is that they're excited for both.
Yeah, here's some of the artwork here. So the entire book, I think we discussed this the other night too a little bit when Stephanie was on. The entire book is black and white inside, and that's all the issues are like that, correct? Keep it consistent?
Yes. Correct.
Excellent. Now, have you ever, when do you think you might ever put either a trade or like an annual issue out?
What is an annual issue? You mean like the old Marvel ones?
Yeah, like the old Marvel ones. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like kind of like a catch-all.
So I will answer that first. So my plan next is to do issue 6. And then I kind of have some things that built up over COVID with some stories that are more origin in nature, which the big thing is we explain why the Lords of the Cosmos are called Lords of the Cosmos. And I'm planning to do that as an issue 0. So kind of like an annual, but it will kind of be a little bit of a divergence away from like the ongoing story for a little bit. Yeah, that we're gonna have that issue 0 after issue 6. So it would be like the 7th book that we've printed. And as far as a trade, I'm not really sure. That's a great question. I haven't really had the bandwidth to even think about that. Part of me thinks I should finish the story, which could take years and years and years, or maybe I should do a collection of like the first 5 issues or something like that. I'm not sure. So that's a good question that I don't have an answer for. But I do have this answer. Lords of the Cosmos 4 completed on February 22nd, 2021. Looks like that was the date that it wrapped up.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. February 22nd, we had 263 backers pledged $8,370, which was, goodness, that's, wow, that would be, what, 3.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. So it's been a minute. And then between then and now, I did the Satanic Coloring books. So I took that detour, and I don't think I'm going to be crowdfunding other things besides Lords of the Cosmos for the foreseeable future. The Satanic Coloring book was kind of a strange one-off project that was near and dear to my evil heart. So annual would be an issue 0, and the stories for that are all done. That might be a fast turnaround book to get out with just a cover or 2 and some, kind of maybe a lower, simpler production. Yeah, trade. I'll get back to you on that, Cthulhu Jack.
Thank you. Yeah, so if any of you like to, even with the Satanic Coloring book, it is here as an add-on too. So you can, if you scroll down.
We can use that left side menu.
I'll bring that down in a second. I wanted to get Heldon's question up here for you, though. What are the biggest strengths of all black and white comic art? Anything you wish you could do in color if you had the chance?
So I think black and white artwork from a visual standpoint shows off your line work and, or inking. And I always thought it has a really clean look. It's kind of an aesthetic thing. So it's like I'll see people or models that'll say, what do you like better? Do you like the color photograph or the black and white? So I think number one, I've always liked black and white artwork. Not that I don't like color, but I think it's kind of very striking to look at, and I that's kind of more of a personal choice. The other strength, and to be totally honest, and we did talk about this earlier this week, Halden, is that it's also budgetary. These books are somewhat expensive to make, and coloring them would add to the cost. So I had done some color comic books before Lords of the Cosmos, and they were, you have to, pay a colorist, and then printing in color can be more expensive than black and white. So, I mean, there is a strength of budget, right? So like a lot of manga, 2000 AD, and some of those books have printed in black and white, I think purely because of cost from creation and cost of production. Anything you wish I could do in color? I mean, look, if budget was no object, I think it'd be fun to have a color variant of Lords of the Cosmos. So, I mean, that's kind of that would be a neat, like, what if? But, I mean, again, if we had unlimited budgets, we'd be making Lords of the Cosmos anime in color, right? And then leave the book in black and white. So, good question.
So here's your here's the Satanic Coloring book. So if you were looking for something for the little Satanist in your heart, this is also available on the site too as a add-on for digital and physical. So that's good. Have you had have you noticed a difference with this campaign and the one that was that you had launched 3.5 years ago, and the difference with backers, supporters, that type of thing right now? I know you've only been on for a few days, but have you noticed a bit of a difference?
So yeah, one of the things that obviously you track on these things is metrics, and I've taken a look quickly yesterday at the campaign. We are ahead compared to issue 4 on the total dollars, but I think we're definitely behind maybe about 15 people on total backers. And one of the things that I've seen in the last year and a half, and it ties into the world we live in, is that comic conventions have definitely become more difficult to make a buck at. Price of fuel, price of rent, price of living, and that I've done conventions for 12 years, just like I've been doing Kickstarters for 12 years. And I noticed a headwind in the conventions. So one of the things that I really tried to do was build up as much pre-launch hype and engaging backers with pre-launch and really trying to get, more people out of the gate. And I'll be honest, I did come into this campaign expecting some strong, headwinds. If people are struggling to pay the bills, asking for money for a comic is a little bit tougher. And in all honesty, I was a little shocked with where we were at with printing costs and shipping costs, because you always check these things right before it launches. So I'll be honest, I have been a little surprised that for a 5th issue and having engaged with a lot of people before this launched, I was actually really surprised that we have less backers, because the other issues have been well received. The backers have been taken care of on time. So I would say I'm a little surprised, but then I'm not, because I knew there would be strong inflationary personal headwinds, because this is not an easy time to sell things, especially with things like the presidential election floating around, which can tend to tie people's purse strings up, and just general uncertainties and cost of living. And anyone that watches or reads the news can see that. So very grateful for the dollar amount and grateful for all the backers we do have. But I guess I'm a little surprised that more returning backers haven't come out, and or with some of the stuff we're doing, hey, like shows like this. And I have so many podcasts and appearances booked in the next month. And tomorrow is going to be my first ever Kickstarter live at Comic Cove in State College, that I think this is going to be a lot of work, more than I thought, to really get the vote back out, or get the backers back out that we've had, and to try to attract new backers in an environment that is definitely more difficult for people to have discretionary spending. Cthulhu Jack.
Right. No, I hear you. Well, I hope we were able to help you out a little bit tonight and ongoing as we continue posting this stuff up there, and then tonight also is a first for us because we're also double streaming on both YouTube and on Rumble for the first time on Rumble. So we do have a growing fan base over there. So it'd be great if anybody out there is listening to also contribute to your campaign.
And greetings to those on Rumble.
So Mick, the man says shipping is probably the biggest thing, I'd say, even after getting it all printing.
So funny.
Yes.
So, and Mick, good evening, and I hope you got a chance to back the book. We want the Mick support. So here's an interesting kind of private comment about shipping. I was talking to another creative this week about the campaign, and it's a gentleman that is considering putting out his own children's book. And he was just asking me about costs and everything. And what was really funny was that he said, I said, yeah, I did some checking on shipping. And I said, I was a little shocked with what media mail is now. And he said, well, what is it, like 70 cents? And I was like, oh, yeah, Cthulhu Jack knows that media mail ain't 70 cents. And if you go to USPS, and I want to make sure I'm saying the right number. Hold on. Media mail. I'm going to look it up. Media mail. Minimum.
I'm going to guess $4.36. $4.36 is my guess.
Okay. The minimum cost, I'm going to read this. The minimum cost for a media mail package is $4.63 for a package that weighs 1 pound or less. This is the price as of July 2024 and is an increase of 50 cents from the previous price. So, one other question I have is, and I'm going to be going on another podcast later tonight to talk about the future of floppy comics, is are we losing backers because of the price of what we've got to charge now to make and ship these books?
Right.
Which, if people have less money and then these things cost more, is that affecting sales, right? Because price, can affect that, obviously. And it was actually mind-blowing when my friend said that 70-cent figure, where I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, stamps now are almost 70 cents just for a stamp.
Right.
But he was Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I don't remember when it was 70 cents. It's been, a couple of decades at least.
Right. But that's like when you have someone that's like, well, how much does a new roof cost? $2,000? And you're like, no. Like a small ranch house could cost like $9,000. And they're like, what? I thought it was $1,000. And you're like, no, like your information is so wrong. So I thought, remember when a gallon of gas was a nickel and a movie ticket was a penny? And you're like, no, I don't.
Right.
So yeah, I do think it's affected it. And, I'm a salesy guy. I do sales full time when I'm not making comic books. So like I said, this is what I do for a living is, I get involved and I try to move the needle. I guess I was hoping that I wouldn't be as affected as severely as it may be, because I was really hoping we would have more backers than less. So I guess, if you're a backer and you backed it before, please hope you come back. Right. Oddly enough, I haven't gotten any negative feedback about price. Like I hadn't had anyone say I'd back it, but it's too expensive.
Right.
And then one of the other things I wonder about is, 3.5 years is a lifetime in the, the world of internet and social media. So then I wonder, is my ability to communicate to my future or new customers and existing customers being impacted by social media, backer messaging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I did launch this on a Tuesday, so I'm going to have some time this Sunday to really kind of drill into, putting up some new, social media posts and emails and things of that nature. So yeah, it's you always got to remain positive. And
right.
my personal goal is I'd like to see us hit some of our stretch goals. And, my goal for a creator is to do more. So I would like to see more backers and more dollars. So, we're about $3,900 away from matching the last total, which,
That's
again,
great,
is thank you, which is doable. And we're about 180 backers away. Which again, we've got 29 days to go. So it's very doable. I think it may just be more work than I thought. My goal that I'd like to see is like a stretch goal would be to get to 300 backers and $10,000.
Right.
I think that would be a stretch based on what I've seen. I don't think it's impossible. And I always like to give myself a goal to do better, but I'm going to have to work for it, Cthulhu Jack. I think this is some tough headwinds out here.
Right. Now, you mentioned before about doing the shows and how you see kind of in the tea leaves what's going on there. If I was a young Jack trying to get his comic book out and utilizing what you're doing with crowdfunding and maybe decide to want to try to go to a Comic-Con to do it, rent a table, do the whole 9 yards. I mean, do you think that's something that would be lucrative? Do you think it'd be beneficial that would help you if you did it during a campaign to get those extra people on board to support your Kickstarter, or do you think it would be kind of a wash or a waste? What do you think about that?
So, if you think about what doing these books are, you're doing your best to build an audience, and you can build an audience multiple ways. You can build it obviously through in-person interactions. You can build it through, electronic social media, etc. With the idea that you're building an audience. So I've been doing independent comics and conventions for 12 years now, and it has definitely changed. And I would say the convention scene, especially, I would say all evidence that I've seen in the last year would point to it being worse. And worse in that the sales are down across the board and the costs are up. And the costs are up for us as exhibitors, and the costs are up for the attendees, which means they have less money and so on and so forth. So me personally, I won't stop doing conventions because I enjoy them. But what I'm looking at is doing less shows in general, and then also I'm cutting out the multi-day hotel urban shows because years ago some of those shows could be incredibly lucrative, and now they've become incredibly expensive with lower returns, and the cost and the time make it really not worth it unless you lived in the town.
Right.
So if you lived in Philadelphia doing an urban show in Philadelphia, that would track for me because it's where you live. But, my last experience at a multi-day urban show, I actually left early. It was incredibly slow. And I kind of walked away saying I'd done those shows for quite some time and I didn't want to do them again. So I'm now, until things are demonstrably different, I don't want to do multi-day urban shows because the hotels are more expensive, the parking is more expensive, et cetera, and the juice isn't worth the squeeze, if that makes sense. Would I advise a new creator to still do shows? Yes, with the caveat I would stay closer to home with shorter shows,
right?
Because there is still value in getting out, but should you be spending $800 or $900 to go away for a weekend? That might be ill-advised because you might go and make $300, and then it's like you just lost money to meet a handful of people. I would also say that you still can crowdfund, you still build an audience, right? I don't want to be that cold-heartedly cynical, but I think you're walking into an environment now that is oversaturated and has strong financial headwinds. And I would say the one strength that I've got is I built up a very solid, loyal audience of core fans that I think they're going to be the ones that drive this campaign. It may not be so much, new people that saw a post on social media, which isn't to say if you are a new person and say, well, what about me? I would love to have you. But I think with the way things are now, building a new audience from scratch is going to be very difficult, even though new fans are obviously incredibly important to grow an audience. But I think, what I've seen in the first couple of days of this campaign is it is a lot of the fans that have been there for quite some time. My core fans, so to speak. and they're incredibly valuable, and they've been very difficult to accumulate over the years. They represent a lot of in-person, online interactions for many years, good customer service, good conversations, and genuinely trying to make friends and building friendships with a lot of people.
Sure.
And then there's a challenge of losing them, where people may lose interest, or they may, in some cases, we've had a couple fans of mine pass away, so building an audience is not static, because people can transition out for various reasons. So that's kind of my take on it. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on the show, because this is Cthulhu Jack. We should be a little bit fun, and it has been a successful Kickstarter today, but that's that's my hot take on it. It's I knew there was economic headwinds, and I was hoping I had done enough work to get around them, but it might be too strong just to have just an out of control, awesome performance out of the gate. But I'll keep working every day for the rest of the campaign to get the people out, new and
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we always like to have fun here, but the good thing is I like to have folks like yourself on too, to give us a straight poop on a lot of this stuff, because there's so much so much ways that you can get your project out there now, and there's also millions of others that are also doing the same in one regard or another. So it's always kind of nice to hear from somebody that's on the inside making it happen. Especially, I mean, you're up to issue 5 right now, which is great. I know some people don't even get out of the gate beyond 1, because they may not make the goal that they want to make. And that's actually one of the my next question. I see, so you have a $4,000 goal, and you obviously you made that and then some so far. Is there a reason why you picked the 4,000? Because I talked to other Kickstarter folks, and I know how much the cost of a lot of the stuff is, and so comics to make are pretty expensive. Unless you're like doing the zine from home and going to Kinko's, if any of those are even still around. But yeah, so I'm just kind of curious on why you picked that number, not like 15,000 or 30,000 or $5. You know what I mean? Because you see people out there that do that. They go one extreme to the other.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Cthulhu Jack. So one of the things that I've thought more and more about Kickstarter over the years is it in many ways reminds me of the old Price is Right. Well, it's still on, but I still think about Bob Barker. Have your pet spayed and neutered. I still think about that show, and I loved watching that as a kid, because there was always like some weird angle with numbers, right? Like, well, what about this? What about that? In Kickstarter, there's a crazy logic to, like, you can pick your own goal. So I'm always perplexed when people pick goals they can't hit, because it isn't like you have to raise at least $20,000 to be on Kickstarter, where you're like, well, I'll try, but it's not a number that you picked where you could say, well, I can't make $50,000, but somebody else picked that.
Right.
So on the one hand, I do think it's important to pick a goal you can hit. So let's talk extremes. Like, I've seen people that have out of the gate, and I won't name names, but I've seen a couple where some people that have done no books, they have no apparent fan base, and they'll pick some number like $25,000, $50,000. Their campaigns launch, their mom and their best friend back it, and then they have like 4 backers for $75 after a couple weeks, and their goal is tens of thousands of dollars. And then typically the result is they kind of hang their heads in shame and shut their campaigns down. And I think some of those people imagine that Kickstarter is some magical money spigot that they can just say, hey, I have an idea, and strangers from coast to coast and around the world are just going to throw money at them. And that's not the case. On the other hand, we've seen people that have really low goals. So they'll say our goal is $100 or $300, and it gets backed in like an hour, right? And then it's like, oh my God, we were at 900%. I think there's a little bit of danger in that, because you could have people that say you hit your goal, why back it? And I think it's a little bit, BS, because people can kind of see through that and be like, so you funded, but your goal was $100. It's like almost, you know what I mean? And I think people kind of realize it's kind of a stunt just to be like, I funded in 5 minutes.
Right.
And I think that's also fairly insincere. So I do think, and there's merit to both ends, right? You want to try to raise a reasonable amount of money, but you don't want to have it be some number, in my opinion, that's just so low that it's just like, what, you know what I mean? Like, I get you're trying to game the system with, I got funded within 5 seconds, but I don't know that really. I think most people can kind of see it for what it is. So I've always thought $4,000 was enough to kind of like pay the bare bones costs of one of these books.
Right.
And be a realistic number that I can fund quickly. So this book funded, I'll tell you exactly when it funded. So it launched on the 10th around 3:00, and it funded on the 12th at 10:30. So it funded in less than 48 hours, right? And we had, to me that's about right. And what I like to do is like I said, I'd like to see it at least match the prior book, but I also don't want to put a goal out where it's going to be, a fight to get to 100%, because I do think it is nice to say it's funded.
Sure.
So it's kind of a narrative. Like, the narrative is it's funded.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you have stretch goals to keep people engaged. So I think there is a balance between like having a number that's big enough that it's respectable, but also not insane where it's like, oh, I want to raise $20,000 for this book. I don't think I could raise $20,000 for this book. So, to me, that would be a waste of all of our time.
Right.
And kind of to that, I have noticed a few campaigns, which shall remain nameless, that I've seen recently that I think the people that created the books backed themselves, where they were very far away from their goal. And then they would get like one backer that would like do the entire difference to fund them like on the day before the campaign ended, and they would get no more, which I don't know if they're doing that, but it seems incredibly suspicious. And then because you have to pay a percentage of the money you make, I'm like, so you're paying, 5 to 8 or whatever, 7 to 8% of money that you're putting in to fund something.
Right.
And so I do think there's a little bit of that, where these are people that, even with some of the modest goals that I suspect where that was going on, they couldn't hit those modest goals. So then they just basically, have a friend put in money and then they pay them back, is what I guess is going on.
Right.
And, it's just kind of strange to me. So I do think there's a crazy logic to it, but what is the correct number? I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is you've got, because on Kickstarter, comics are very low in, they only contribute a very small percentage of income to Kickstarter itself. It's usually tech is the bigger one. And, if you're, I don't know, say you're building the first electric toothbrush and you're like, I want to crowdfund it. Well, you're not going to crowdfund the first electric toothbrush because you've got to, whatever the patent, the manufacturing of it, and so on and so forth. And in order to get it out to your people or the people that purchase it, you want to have enough money in there to cover those costs. You're not going to put $100. So I see what you're saying. It's like, if your comic book costs $7,000 or $12,000 or whatever it may be to actual manufacture, and you think you got to look at it going, okay, if I can only raise $1,500, or if I can only raise $7,000, you have to kind of dial that in to a point where it's accessible. It's easy to get to, or easy for yourself for a goal for yourself, I should say, to get to. So then you can kind of build off of that, but don't make it so easy that, like you said, it's, people just look through it and go, this guy's not even trying.
Well, and I think it maybe trivializes what you're trying to do. So I try to look for a number that seems to make sense between a number that's high enough that's respectable, but also it's reachable fairly quickly. And then what I like to do, and again, I've had a very busy week this week, and I need to put our stretch goals on the campaign. But the idea is to encourage people to unlock stretch goals to get them to where you want. So like I said, I'd really like to see it hit around that mid-8s up to 10. That would be a realistic goal for me. But I don't want to be at 91% on the last day of the campaign scrambling around trying to get some money to get to a $10,000 goal when there's like no pressure, when it's like, hey, you're funded. You can have stretch goals to get you to $10,000.
Right.
So I'd prefer to work it that way.
Sure. So Mick has a question for the real. Mick the man says, for the real though, a lot of Kickstarters have a miraculously funded vibe by the people who could clearly fund it themselves. Oftentimes, yeah, that's pretty much a lot what we're saying.
Yeah. No, Kickstarter is one of those things. When you start looking at some campaigns, there's one. Well, I almost think Mick's kind of talking about people that are pretty well to do, that it's even questionable why they're on there. And again, I don't feel like naming names, but you can.
Yes.
Yes. What I'm talking about, where it's like, why are you even doing this? So there's that level of kind of, why are people that are wealthy doing this stuff? That's annoying to me. And it's their right to do it, but I kind of roll my eyes. But there's been a lot of smaller creators that I've noticed that have campaigns that are smaller than mine, that they're so far away from funding even these modest numbers. And then you'll see like one backer will back like the amount to get to the number. And it's like, is anyone interested in this? Because it seems like no one's backing it except for this one angel. So, I mean, again, it's like, do you know what you can get? I don't know. It's very strange.
Right. Yeah, I think Mick alluded to a person. Let's see. So I'm going to ask you, and I guess we're going to go back to more Lords of the Cosmos issue 5 stuff. Let's see. All right. For your audience of fans new and old of Saturday morning cartoons, has Lords of the Cosmos crossed all barriers with ages, do you think?
I think it skews older. And I think for two reasons. One, it leans kind of into the nostalgia vibe, right? Which is going to be people of a certain age, right? And the other reason is I don't know that younger people are as engaged with comics as a medium in general. Which again, this doesn't mean there aren't young people that read comics, because there are, but I think they are less popular. And I think a lot of the stuff that we take for granted isn't as popular with kids.
Right.
We like it because we thought it was cool when we were kids. But, you know, what's funny is like the whole concept of Saturday morning cartoons does not exist.
No, it's kind of sad. It's gone. So
it's almost like talking about, well, I remember when MTV had music videos. Like Saturday morning cartoons now is a nostalgic concept that no longer exists. Right.
Right.
So, I think these things have kind of changed, and where it's going in the years to come. I don't know. I've heard people say similar things about movie theaters and the cinema experience is under stress because of just younger generations aren't into entertainment in that format, where you have to go to a set building to watch entertainment that is 2 hours plus in length, or 90 minutes, right? That's not what they may really be into. And, but we have, thousands or tens of thousands of brick and mortar theaters to go see the movies. And, where will that be in 10 to 15 years? Don't know.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I've worked in movie theaters myself. Growing up as a kid, I love the movie theater, and I still go when I can when they're doing re-releases of old stuff, just because you just get that experience again of maybe if you saw it as a kid, but just being able to see stuff on, everybody's got the giant TVs and all that stuff now, or whatever they have in their own house, and that's fine and dandy. But there's something to be said for just sitting, in an auditorium. Hopefully with respectable folks around you, watching something like, Alien or whatever it may be. I'm going to see, I think Friday the 13th final chapter in a couple of weeks. I'm sorry, it's on Sunday. Yeah, that and Ninja Scroll. It's a double feature. So I'm going to go see Ninja Scroll and then final chapter, which is interesting. But I'm looking forward to it because I haven't seen any of those in the theater. It'd be fun to see Ninja Scroll in the theater. And, but I get what you're saying. It's tough with all that stuff with kids, and especially now there's so many choices. Back then when we were kids, it's Saturday morning, you had, 3 or 4 channels, and then you start at 7 a.m. and you got this, and this, and then at 9 o'clock you could switch channel and get this, and this, and that was pretty much it. Then you get kicked outside,
Yeah.
So, let's see. So we got another one from Mick. Mick's on a roll tonight. Mick says it's like 2 new episodes of Disney Channel, and that's it. That's the Saturday morning cartoon these days.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist. I mean, it's just it's like the malls,
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Would you ever consider doing any webcomics, either independently or through one popular like Webtoons? Is Webtoons even still kicking? Are they still around?
I don't know if it is, but webcomics have never interested me. So it's just, and again, no shade to people doing webcomics, but it's just never been anything I've had any interest in. I've always kind of liked the format of the comic book, kind of the size, the feel, the content. I like the content and the size. So yeah, I don't really have a gumption to change.
Gotcha. So let me ask you a question on some of the characters here.
Yeah.
You said we talked the other night about heavy metal and and your influence with that and He-Man and so on and so forth. But looking at these characters here, is there any, like when you first set out to do this, any of these particular characters, from those specific, idea IPs, or, as just like influences, or is it just kind of a little hodgepodge of a little bit of everybody from everywhere? And was there any particular, like when you create these characters, is there a particular thing that you go into when creating them, or do you just kind of like, is it like kit bashing where you just kind of glue a bunch of stuff together going, okay, that guy's kind of cool because I got him doing this, this, and this?
So I always felt, even as a kid, that Masters of the Universe had a very good hierarchy of characters and almost like a chess set.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at a lot of the Lords of the Cosmos characters, they kind of fit the roles. So, for example, the guy with the red armor and the tentacle left hand is Umek. So he's the leader of the villains. So, I mean, he fills the role that Skeletor would have played as like leader.
Gotcha.
Now, he doesn't really look like Skeletor, but he kind of fills that role. So if you kind of look at 80s properties, like on Centurion, that would have been Doc Terror. In Thundercats, it would have been Mumra, etc. Right? So he's like the main villain. So then the lady with the bronze skin and the golden kind of two-pronged, not quite a trident, it's like a bident, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's Obsidia. She's like the queen, right? So in terms of those classic shows, she's filling the role of like Evil Lyn, right?
Right.
Again, she doesn't really look like Evil Lyn, but she kind of fills that role. So, as you look around at these characters, so the main heroes, there's 2 of them, and they're in like a little pair. It's Aegis and Prism. Aegis has like the Greek hat or the Greek helmet with the plume in the middle.
Right.
He's kind of would be the archetype of Lion-O or He-Man. And then, the lady with the light up sphere, would fill the role that Teela would have had, or Teela on Masters of the Universe, or Chitara on Thundercats, like kind of the, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, like you're filling the roles,
right?
But they're not exactly the same. So the unicorn with the green ray coming out of his horn is sort of like a Starscream-ish character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like kind of a number 2 military guy that's always trying to like begrudge the leader.
Sure, sure.
So I mean, like you'll see things where it's like, okay, they're filling roles, but you don't want to have like, oh, it's the guy with the skull face, but he has a slightly different staff and a red cape.
Right.
There's a pretty famous comic book artist, and I'm not going to name names because I never want to name names on these things when I'm throwing shade. But he was doing characters that were such blatant ripoffs of like well-known Marvel DC, and I'm not going to say which ones, where it's like he would do basically, here's this character and it's a different color.
Oh boy.
And yeah, and you, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. And I remember people were just like, really? Like, it was so lazy. And it's like, okay, I get it that there's like some of these caricature archetype characters. And again, I kind of wanted to have some of those classic 80s things. So Umex and Cycorn are kind of more of a Megatron Starscream, but like Umex and Obsidia is kind of like Skeletor and Evil Lyn. So it's
Right,
like, okay, I get it. And like there's like nods to characters. So we have an insect character that's like a bug with a shotgun. I mean, he's kind of like Stratos because he's a flying character from He-Man that has a society of flying, wasps, or, that live in a gigantic bug. And then he's sort of like Buzz Off from He-Man because he's a bug. So again, like you'll get the feels and the vibes, but the characters, I would hope they're different enough that it's not, dude, these are just, this is just like complete pastiches or ripoff. So it's like I want the feels and like the roles, but like
sure,
they're not the same, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely never got the feeling that they were ever remotely the same, which is great. But what's nice is that it like, if, for instance, if these guys, if Lords of the Cosmos showed up, on the back lot of the He-Man set, cartoon, I could see them all either getting along or, I could see them working in that world, whether the friends or foes, so to speak. But that's what I kind of like about it, is that, they could show up and nobody would know the difference, but they're not a part of the show at all, So that's what I kind of like about it, is that it's almost like an alternate universe of what you came up with, that just does this nice little nod, to those types of shows growing up.
Yep.
So we got one from Alden here. Is there a character that you think hasn't yet had a chance to shine in the comic? Someone to keep your eye on? It's a good question.
Well, it is. And yeah, there's a lot of characters that, ultimately by the end of the day, Halden, we have a character guide, and I would like ideally for every one of those characters to get a chance to shine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some work that's in the can for some of these characters and there are character model sheets. Halden, you should get a set. So some of those characters have scripts written that aren't drawn yet. Some have scripts and complete art that just needs lettered. So yeah, there are some characters that are kind of in the wings. So kind of a sneak peek of some of the characters that are going to be rolled out that have work completed would be as follows: Aegis, the main hero, and his brother Myrmidon, who we've only seen basically as a flashback that he's gotten killed. So their story is done. It just needs lettered. It's in the can. Hexalor 7, the fighting cat for the bad guys, he has an incredible origin story that just needs lettered. That's done. Green Man, who's one of the heroes. He is a magical humanoid creature that repairs the planet. His story is done. It's ready to print. And my mind is slipping on me. I know that we have another one that's completely drawn, and it just I can't remember which one it is, but I know there's another one. So yeah, I would say keep your eyes open on some of those characters at least.
Mick the Man says, Uni Cobra Commander.
Yes. It's a shame that Chris Latta isn't alive. He could voice Cycorn. It would be very effective.
Oh, always loved his voice for that.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander's voice was the best. Yeah, so before, you've got a little bit of time left, so I just wanted to go over the Kickstarter campaign one more time before you take off. Is there anything in particular you wanted to share with the fans, to get that you have as like your favorite seller, or something that you're trying to push that's new, that fans may have never seen before, other than just the books?
I would say, check out the gaming mouse pads. I think they're really cool. I think the mugs are really cool as new products. And I really like the bookmarks. I think they're very inexpensive and very cool. I like those as new products. All the back issues got a refresh cover to go along as a matching set with the new issue 5 cover. My co-creators, Dennis and Jason, both remarked that, we were refreshing the covers, and they said we'd like them to be brighter and bolder and more 80s. So you can get all the back issues with a matching cover that's more in line with the new cover, brighter, bolder, more 80s. So I think it's a good chance to jump on board with Lords of the Cosmos 5 to pick up the old books, as well as, obviously the new issue, which I'm really excited about.
Now, let me ask you, I see you have a virtual event too. What can folks learn, if they plop down $20 to go to the creators virtual event?
So that's a great question. So what we want to have for that is to get as many of our writers and artists together and just have a jam session to talk about what we're doing moving ahead. Kind of like a real sneak peek, spoilers, insider meeting, and just to let them talk to us about what we're going to be doing. And I always think about panels at conventions, and unfortunately, we're all over the place, and it would be awesome to have a Lords of the Cosmos panel. And we were chatting about it and said, well, why not just offer a virtual ticket and do a Zoom? So maybe something like this. Maybe you could come, Cthulhu Jack.
That'd be fun. Now, would you be able to show any little spoilers of what's to come? Because you just mentioned a little bit ago about the artwork and some of the stuff that's you're finishing lettering right now. Would you be able to show some of that?
Yeah, we totally could do that. And we haven't really planned it out, but that was the kind of stuff I thought would be fun to showcase. It'd be future art and, really open up about some of our big thoughts for like where we're going with everything. And just something for people that are really into it. Again, no different than having a panel,
sure,
for the book.
Right. Yeah. So these are the mouse pads you were talking about. You showed them the other night on the channel, and holy smokes, they're huge. I mean, you look at the number 36 by 16, you're like, oh, okay, you can basically wrap that almost around your body.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, when you first mentioned it, I thought we were just talking like what I have here, just a little circular one for my mouse pad. But then seeing the size of it, I was like, holy smokes. I guess I'm not much of a gamer in that capacity.
Yeah, they're honking big mouse pads, that's for sure. I mean, they don't pull any punches, so they're awesome.
That's pretty cool. Whoop. Nope. And so then we also have the Zemba Spicy Digital Image variant set. So go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Cthulhu Jack.
No. I'll let you go. No, what were you going to say?
So what had happened was LC Freitas, when he did these, he's very used to doing nude pinups, and he did multiple versions with her bikini area with how she grooms herself. So I laughed because we were actually trying to figure out what would she be like on the nude cover, but then we had all the versions that we didn't use, and I thought, well, we have them. Maybe somebody wants to check out all the ways she could look. So I thought that was fun.
Oh, I see. I was curious about that. Okay, so it's how she is, how she grooms herself is in the various forms.
Yes, and spoiler, one of her groomings it might be similar to their logo. They hand with the eye on it. So
that's
lots to see.
She had a lot of laser use, I'm sure, trying to get that sculpt to go down right.
Yes.
And then you showed us the Zemba toy the other night. So you have Zemba, and you've sold a couple of those already. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Let's see, where are we over here? Where are you, little Zemba? I think it's down at the bottom. You have too many add-ons. No, I'm kidding.
Well, these are just the tiers. You're not even in the add-ons, right?
Right. Oh, there's a Zemba figure. Yep. So we still got three. Looks like we still got three left. So yeah, these Zemba figures are finished, right? They're all complete.
No, they'll be made custom by Eric.
Made custom, excellent.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love the backing too. It's very reminiscent of 80s blister pack. I love that. Excellent. You get a retail tier. So that's good. That's good. Well, that can help you tomorrow when you go to the comic shop for your appearance. Right. So get new T-shirts. Now, so the art of Jason Lenox. So what does this entail? Is it all Lords of the Cosmos, or is it kind of a mixed bag of that and some of your other work?
Actually, I think there might be 1 or 2 Lords of the Cosmos color images in there, and that was a little art book that I had made with mini comics, and it was all of my colored art that really wasn't fan art. I didn't want to put any of that stuff in there, but it's all like public domain stuff or like original ideas. So it's something like 70 pages. Yeah, it's a big.
Oh wow!
Just color images.
Right. That's great. They got the digital stuff. You get Satanic again, and then there's your pledge
with the Lizard Cowboy.
Yep, exactly. You can have the Lizard Cowboy. And how many different stories are actually in this issue? Is it 3, 4?
Correct. It's 3. So there's
3. Okay.
There's Pulse Part 1, Enemy of My Enemy, and Mr. Zemba, A Day in the Life.
Okay. Yeah, so these are the 3. Yeah, I love the artwork in this. The clean, you get nice clean artwork here. Now, do you know if I know because I know folks have different means of illustrating nowadays. A lot of them use digital. With your illustrators themselves, what's their what do they prefer, or is it kind of a mix up?
So Sasha and Luigi both worked with ink on board. My art was pencil on board, and then Caesar inked those pages digitally.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it looks great. Excellent. There she is. All right. Well, if there's anything else, Jason, before I let you go.
Well, first of all, to anyone that's listening to this, back the book, thank you. I sincerely appreciate your support. If you're listening or watching and you haven't backed the book, I would say you should, because it's going to be a great book, and I've always taken care of my backers on time, and I will do so again with this book. The book is complete, so all I have to do is get my ducks in a row for a printing order afterwards and order books and then start shipping them out. And then get some t-shirts and other things together. So I would say it's a great book, and I'm going to take the best care of you as a creator, like I always have. This is my 13th campaign, and I haven't let anybody down yet, and I don't intend on doing that. So you'll be taken care of with first-class treatment as a backer, and I think that's worth something.
And when, once this campaign is all over and done with, when do you see the issues coming out? The campaign, once everything's all wrapped with the campaign and printing's do and all that stuff, do you have an estimated shipping date? You don't have to give a exact amount.
Well, so what I put in the campaign was June of next year to make sure I had plenty of time. Obviously, I want to have it done before then, but I wanted to be very conservative. And then, kind of like I said, the game show aspect of the amount of money, I would much rather say next June and maybe get them done in like January. And then I'm like, hey, 5 months early.
Sure.
So that I gave myself a lot of time, because what you don't want to say is I'll have them out in a month.
Right.
And life gets in the way and you need 3 months. And then now you're late,
Right.
So I'd rather be early than late.
Yeah, you never want to be late.
And since we make up our own deadlines, it kind of seems, again, it's like, why would you ask for an amount of money that, hey, I'll get $100,000 for Lords of the Cosmos 5? It's not going to happen. So why would you, you could pick the number. So why would you do that to yourself? Like I said, I've never understood that.
No, I'm with you on that. All right. Well, thank you, Jason, for coming and joining us again here on this Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And with the namesake of Jason and Jason Voorhees, it's kind of, got a little double, and the Cannibal Corpse. So we're filling in all our spooky and scary time of year. So this is Jason Lenox from Lords of the Cosmos. Help back his book, and right over there. And we are at 4,439. Would love before the end of the evening to get that a little higher. So if you guys can help us out, that would be super cool.
So
all right, Jason, I'm gonna go ahead.
I was gonna say, so Howden and Mick the Man, great questions. I hope you're backing the book, and if you haven't, I'm gonna look for your names. Come on, fellas.
Well, Jason, aren't you appearing again later on tonight? You've got double appearance tonight, don't you?
So I am going to be. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure I'm saying this correctly, because it's a new podcast.
All I'm saying is Haldon and Mick can follow you on there too. You can keep harassing Jason as he's out.
So I am going to be on the Creative Cranium.
Oh, there you go.
Episode 77, Are Floppies Viable in Today's Market, hosted by Timothy Fling. And I will be a guest along with Guido Martinez and Anthony Castro.
Excellent.
So I will be posting those up on my social media so you can join in.
Sounds fun. All right, folks. Well, that's where you can find Jason later on tonight. And otherwise, we'll see him again here soon. Towards the end of his campaign, he'll be back. So I appreciate you coming in, Jason.
Thanks for having me on, Cthulhu Jack.
Have a good night.
You too.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Any last requests, thoughts before we head out for the evening? I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming by tonight and checking us out at Cthulhu Jack Live. And we like to do this every once in a while where we have creators on, big and small. I'm looking at a couple of other folks that'll be coming in over the next couple of months, and I'd be happy to have you guys all join us. And I would like to also keep doing this live stream both on here on YouTube and on Rumble, so we can help build fan bases across the void, as they say. And before I go, I'm going to leave you with a friend of ours at Dark Side Media, Morrow, who I don't know if you missed it at the beginning of the show. He has created a fan version of Jason from Friday the 13th Part 7. It's a pretty amazing sculpture. It is he's doing it at pre-sale right now, and he's sponsoring us for tonight. And on our new video for Friday the 13th with Amy Steele. And I'll show his clip on the way out. And if you want to help him out, because he's doing pre-orders right now, you can go to either his Facebook message, Instagram, and his direct email is also in the description below. And I want to thank you guys all again for joining me tonight. Have a good night, and until next time. Welcome back to Crystal Lake for a Friday the 13th offer that is out of this world. For the first time, a 1/6 scale highly detailed sculpture by Maro Misherovich is available now for pre-order from C4 Studios. Receive either the fully painted Jason from Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood for $450 plus shipping, or if you prefer to paint it yourself, a $350 plus shipping version is also available. C4 Studios does offer payment plans to make it easier for you hardcore fans. You may contact Morrow through his C4 Studios Facebook or Instagram direct messages to place your order. Don't miss out on this limited run. Links in the description below. Thank you for your support.
Cthulhu.